What is up, guys? Rick Cackington III here. That's my regal name. Thank you so much for stopping by. And today, we have some absolutely massive, absolutely fantastic Destiny 2 news. And it's something I really wanted to talk about and discuss and talk about how we got here and all that stuff. So what is that news? Well, according to Discord's Charlemagne Tracker, Destiny 2 reached over 1 million daily active players. So in a single day, over 1 million different people are all playing Destiny 2 for the first time in a long time. And this is a really amazing thing for a game this old. Destiny 2 did not just release. It's coming off the heels of yet another paid expansion. In fact, the last in the line of the annual pass. How is it just now reaching this milestone? Let's talk about it. Now, this matters quite a lot more because, as I said, it reached this milestone for the first time in a long time. So what was that other long time? Well, it was when Destiny 2 first released. And that came with a lot of trials and tribulations over there because Destiny 2, it was made way too much for casual players. It had no endgame, it had nothing to grind for, it had a smorgasbord of problems. And that resulted in an absolutely phenomenal player drop-off. In fact, here's the stats. After 6 weeks of Destiny 2 releasing, it lost 78% of its player base. That is nearly unprecedented. That is definitely unprecedented for such a major AAA game that really didn't do anything massively wrong because the game ran fantastically, it played well, it was just these endgame issues, it was just these loot issues and stuff like that, which frankly makes it extra interesting. It wasn't like a No Man's Sky style game where they said there was going to be multiplayer and then there wasn't multiplayer. Everything they said was going to be in Destiny 2 was in Destiny 2, and that makes the player drop off even more alarming. But to give you guys some perspective of that stat, the 78% of the players lost in 6 weeks, compared to Call of Duty, which, love it or hate it, it's a massive game, that generally experiences 80% of its player base lost after 6 months. So Destiny 2 did what Call of Duty does in 6 months in 6 weeks. Like, that shows you just how sharp of a player drop-off it really was. And then, of course, there was the double whammy. Destiny 2 wasn't doing too well, and then it got the worst expansion in Destiny history, the Curse of Osiris. Curse of Osiris fixed basically nothing. It added just to the same exact amalgamation that was Destiny 2. It didn't change anything dramatically, it just added more of the same. And guess what? Players hated it, and the player population maybe went up a tiny bit for this expansion, but then just went down right after it. So it didn't help at all. Then there was Warmind. Now, I honestly think Warmind should be credited as starting to turn around the ship. It added Escalation Protocol, which was a really fun activity. The weapons you got from it, like the Escalation Shotgun, the Escalation Sniper, even the SMG, were actually good weapons worth grinding for. It added powerful exotics back into the game. Stuff like the Whisper of the Worm quest was just loved by the community. It still is a fantastic piece of content, even if the gun got nerfed to oblivion. That's another topic, but it really started to turn things around. But Forsaken is absolutely the tipping point of where things really turned around. Bungie added back random rolls to the game. They fixed the gun system, so you weren't stuck with 2 primaries and a heavy, and now you could have special and a primary and a heavy, or 2 specials if you really wanted to. It also added so much of the end game back. It introduced the most complicated, biggest raid, and the Dungeon of the Shattered Throne, and triumphs to really go after, and all of this stuff. It added Destiny 2's endgame back. It turned the ship around. So why didn't we see this 1 million concurrent players then? Like, Forsaken was the big turning point. It was when everything changed. Do you think the hype behind that expansion, and there was so much positive press around that expansion for turning everything around, why didn't we see 1 million players then? right? Why have we just now seen it? And I think it's because the way Destiny 2 has dished out content, and we need to look at what Destiny 2 has done since Forsaken, because honestly, it's done nothing but improve. And although the annual pass wasn't at certain points the most amazing thing ever, the Season of Opulence, the most recent and last annual pass expansion, has been loved and added some fantastic things to the game. But we also have the very recent announcement of Shadowkeep and the really big news of Destiny 2's split from Activision. In fact, this split has been absolutely wild. Like a few days after Activision left, Bungie did their massive Shadowkeep Reveal stream and released the Vidoc, and they introduced things the players have been asking for so long, and they really admitted that it's been things that they have been vying for a long time. Stuff like cross-save and a free-to-play version of the game, and this... I mean, Bungie didn't pull any punches about. They said in the Vidoc that they've been wanting to do this since Destiny 2 came out, but they couldn't for capital R reasons. A huge jab at likely Activision, possibly Sony, because they're always against the crossplay, cross-save stuff. But they really came out of that split looking better than ever. That announcement was just pure joy as a Destiny 2 fan, and Destiny looks like it's going to be in this fantastic position. But that brings up a really interesting question. So Destiny 2 is going free to play with Destiny 2 New Light coming pretty soon in September, and with New Light you get a ton of content. You get everything included in Destiny 2 and Curse of Osiris and Warmind, and you get the areas of Forsaken and the new Shadowkeep expansion, and all of the playlist activities for stuff like Strikes, Crucible, Gambit, and even Gambit Prime. So if you are a Destiny 2 New Light free-to-play player, you can still do Forsaken Strikes. You can do Strikes and Crucible with one of your friends that has all of that content, because you're not going to be kicked out when it is those DLC-related areas, like the Tangled Shore and so on, and the brand new moon with Shadowkeep as well. So why aren't players waiting for the free-to-play version? Like, that's probably one of the craziest things, is that we've reached this milestone of 1 million concurrent players now on the heels of the knowledge that's becoming free-to-play. Why aren't players waiting? Well, I think it's because it's such a continuation of everything that's happened since Forsaken. Something else interesting that happened during the split is that Activision had to address its shareholders about what's going on, and they said that they've lost 12 million MAUs, monthly average users. And they cited about half of those, so 6 million players, was because Bungie split and took Destiny with it. So that means that Activision themselves is admitting that about 6 million monthly average users are on Destiny. Now, a small amount maybe on Destiny 1, but obviously the vast majority is Destiny 2. And that makes that 1 million concurrent players milestone that we've got to make so much more sense. Like, it's not like it was 500,000 players the day before and then jumped up to 1 million. This was a long time coming. And the reason we're seeing this accumulation until now is the spilling over point and we reach this milestone is because the last, most recent annual pass expansion, Season of Opulence, has been fantastic. Unlike previous expansions, Season of the Drifter wasn't too amazingly liked, and even Season of the Forge had its issues. Season of Opulence has been mostly positive, and there's 2 really big reasons, I think. Well, technically 3 really big reasons. Firstly, it introduced a raid again, so the hardcore players are back. The Season of the Drifter not having a raid really was one of the big reasons it suffered, but the raid is an endgame hardcore activity. What is making the more casual players come back? It's the Menagerie. The Menagerie is such a good activity. This cannot be overlooked. Bungie cannot make this a one-time thing, because the lessons learned from Menagerie should be applied in every future expansion, and this matters. Talking about this really matters, because one of the things Bungie said in their Shadowkeep announcement is that more annual passes, more annual style expansions are going to happen. After Shadowkeep, there's likely going to be another year of annual expansions where it's not as big as full expansions, but they're still adding a lot of more content. But Bungie said that you can now buy them individually. You don't have to just buy the annual pass or nothing. So that means if things kind of slack off with another season of the Drifter, then people just aren't gonna buy that. And Bungie needs to bring it every single time. So, why is Menagerie so good? Well, first and foremost, 6 players. 6 players is so much more fun than just 3 players in a strike. If you're chaining supers between 6 players using their heavy, it's a blast. And we know Bungie has this capability. There's 6v6 in PvP, there's 6-player raids. Why do things like Strikes and Gambit have 3 to 4 players? Like, yes, Strikes and Nightfalls and everything being tuned for 3 players is fine, but we should absolutely get more big player number activities. It's just fun. And the fact that it has matchmaking means it's accessible for so many players. The way Menagerie is designed as well, with all these different encounters where you have to learn mechanics, it's a very Destiny feeling activity. It's not just run and gun, you actually have to kind of know a few things about the encounters. The way that it's random of these 6 different encounters means it's going to be a little bit different every time you play it. And the big factor, the big meaty factor behind its success is the way it rewards loot. Look at the Menagerie compared to the Reckoning. The Reckoning, of course, could have had more players, could have been more fun, but it's just 4 players. I mean, admittedly, it's more than the Strikes 3 players, so they do get a point there, but the reward system in Reckoning sucks so much. You do Reckoning, and you get nothing. And you do it again, nothing. You do it again, nothing. You do it again, you get a weapon that you didn't want, and then nothing. And then nothing. And then a weapon you do want that has a trash roll. And then nothing. The RNG is so bad in Reckoning, more often than not, completing it will give you just nothing. It won't even give you a reward. Menagerie, you can guarantee yourself a reward every single time you do it. That feels so much better. And on top of that, they're giving players the power to determine what they want to get. If you want the beloved sniper, if you want the Austringer hand cannon, if you want the machine gun, if you want the shotgun, you can farm that specific item. And that feels so much better than just having RNG on top of RNG on top of RNG when you're doing other activities like the Reckoning. Now, I'm definitely not saying that they should remove all of the RNG aspects from the game, but giving a little bit more of the power to players to determine what kinds of things they want to get should be the standard going forward, especially for these activities that you have to farm quite a bit. And it doesn't need to be as complicated as the Menagerie's own economy with the runes and everything. I mean, for Reckoning, how about, depending on what different moat you wager, depending on the armor type it is, so if you wager a sentry moat, then you will get either the hand cannon or the shotgun. If you wager a Reaper moat, then you will always get either the grenade launcher or the sword. You know, stuff like that. So that depending on what moat you wager, you have a little bit of control over the rolls you get. That obviously doesn't eliminate all RNG. You still have to get the roll you want, but you can more tune the actual thing you want to get. Like, that's such a simple thing to do. Like, I really hope Bungie doesn't abandon what they've learned with Menagerie, with the upcoming stuff. Especially, you know, with Shadowkeep, we know there's going to be a new dungeon and everything. Let's actually get some role determination. Let's actually put some power into the players when determining the loot they get. Because the quality of Season of Opulence is really why you're seeing this milestone achieved now and not seeing it achieved earlier. A lot of players like hopped on for Season of the Drifter and went and hopped off, but they're staying for Opulence because it's designed so much better. Now, there is some other factors likely behind this milestone. With the release of Opulence, Bungie released a bundle for Destiny 2, so new players could be wanting to get in early, and that's another factor with the announcement that it's becoming free to play and just all the hype around this game right now. Some players, a lot of new players in fact, are probably trying to get in early so that they don't join with the free to play crowd and just get farmed in Crucible. If you are okay with spending money now, you're going to be able to go into that explosion of the player base when it goes free to play with some good weapons and armor and a knowledge of the game. So, at the end of the day, this is just fantastic news for the Destiny community. If you're a Destiny fan, you should feel great. The future looks so bright, it's incredible. This game is going to explode when it becomes free to play, and it's already doing better just because Bungie is learning from their mistakes. Every annual pass has honestly been a little bit better in my opinion, maybe a slight dip for Season of the Drifter, but even Season of the Drifter applied a lot of the changes that people wanted in Season of the Forge. Like, they didn't like how when it came out, they couldn't access the new activities and stuff like that. Bungie has been steadily improving, and I can't wait to see what comes in the future. And it's been a wild ride. Like, as a Destiny content creator, oh my goodness, there's been some high highs and some low lows. So I really do enjoy the fact that, you know, believing in Bungie, believing in this game, sticking with Destiny 2, it's paid off, because this game's gonna, again, it's gonna explode. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, found it informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.